This news that Britishvolt has gone into administration has come to a shock to this town. The site where the Britishvolt factory, the gigafactory, the £3.6 billion facility was to be built is just a few miles up the road in Cambois, and we'll be moving there later in the day as I talk to people. But I'm delighted to be joined for now by Professor Matt Boyle of the University of Newcastle. He's an engineering electrification specialist. He's also the chair of Driving the Electrical Revolution, which is a local research group linked to government. Matt, you are an electrification specialist, as I said, but just first up, this news yesterday, did it come as a shock?
Not completely, no. It's been a worry for some time that the Britishvolt weren't able to garner all the support they needed. It wasn't a particular shock, but it's not the end. I am confident that this site will be built and we will make batteries in Cambois.
Why is Cambois such a good place to build this facility? This morning, the Levelling Up Secretary, Michael Gove, said it's a very attractive site, it's a very valuable site, even though Britishvolt, for now, that particular company, couldn't raise the private sector investment that would have unlocked about £100 million of government grants or subsidy for this site. Why is it Cambois such a good place to build a huge gigafactory building these batteries that go into electric cars?
So the site sits on what was the coal store for the Alcan plant, the Alcan power plant. So there is electrical infrastructure already there. Behind us is Blythe Port, which is a deep water port, one of the few on this side of the country. And it has rail links. Because of the demand for coal that was transported into the site, there's a rail link already established to take batteries out of the site.
And this is also meant to be the heartland of Britain's green industrial revolution, right? We're surrounded by wind, offshore wind. We got Dogger Bank out there in the North Sea, the biggest offshore wind farm in the world, I believe. We've got the internet connector from that coming in here. Another reason why this region should really be at the forefront of the very kind of green projects that you're driving forward.
So we are at the forefront of that. One of the things that we've done in this region is focus on offshore renewable energy, battery technology, hydrogen technology, and the drivetrains for electric vehicles. Because we do have a very large manufacturing facility just south of here in Sunderland at Nissan, which makes 600,000 cars a year, and in a few years' time, all of those will have to be electric.
Now, the North East, as you say, is really at the forefront of British car making these days, along with the Midlands, of course, and the car makers in South Wales. What are the knock-on effects if this plant isn't built? Because you have to build the batteries near where you're building the cars, because the batteries are so heavy, right? So if the batteries aren't being built, you won't be building the cars in this region.
There are two things about the battery manufacture in the UK. One is it increases the amount of local content in a car, which allows us to export the cars without tariffs. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there is an enormous demand. There will be an enormous demand for batteries for electric vehicles. 600,000 cars are going to need somewhere around 4 battery plants across the UK. So building these quickly is something we have to do in order to be competitive. If we don't, then we're going to have to import the batteries from elsewhere, which will have knock-on economic effects.
You are a very connected guy in this region. You are Mr. Automotive when it comes to electrification anyway. How hopeful are you that this Cambois site will see this huge gigafactory? We've had 350 job losses on yesterday's announcement, but this place could employ thousands.
Yeah, the estimate originally was around 3,000 people in the plant. However, that would increase outside the plant, the supply chain, by probably another 5,000 people. So it is a big plant. Would be a big employer. But I'm supremely confident that something will be built on the Cambois site that makes batteries.
And a lot of people watching and listening here on GB News will be wondering about that 2030 date when the British government has said in law that new petrol and diesel cars will be banned and will be moving to electric vehicles. I'm told by some industry sources we need 4, 5, 10 gigafactories in Britain to make that happen. We've only got one at the moment at Nissan in Sunderland, and we can't get another one off the ground. Is that 2030 deadline going to stick?
I'd hope so, because we do have to think about the planet. It's a bigger issue than just automotive. There are many sectors that are going to have to electrify in that time frame. But it's important for the planet that we decarbonise transport, and that by 2030 that 2030 deadline is something we could try and stick to.
And you are connected in government. You've persuaded cabinet ministers in the past to fund research projects here in terms of green industrial technology and electrification. Do you think the government now should move to unlock money regardless of private sector investment coming in or not? Or do you think they should wait until private sector money comes in and then they back that up? There's a market failure here. There's obviously a market failure here. You need to support the infrastructure to make batteries in this country. You're spending public money though, so you have to be responsible. If there's a market failure like there is, then government should step up and try and help private industry get off the ground. Professor Matt Bohr, the chair of Driving the Electrical Revolution of the University of Newcastle, great to talk to you here today. Well, Tom, this is emerging as a big story since Britishvolt went into administration yesterday. I'm going to be here up in the northeast all day talking to people. The Prime Minister is coming to the region as well. So central is this project, this factory, this town's future in the whole levelling up agenda. Those red wall seats, of course, will determine the result of the next general election.